Good morning, everybody. I am live in Las Vegas, Nevada. We're going to talk today about things to consider when buying CBD oil. So this is a hot topic, apparently. And with all the competition and rapidly growing industry, I think it's important that we know what to look out for when we are shopping for a CBD oil brand. So whether you're using HempWorks or another brand, doesn't matter really, but you need to know what to look out for if you're going into the dispensary market, if you're buying online, what to look for when buying CBD. So before we get started, I want to say hi to you guys. Hi, Tiffany is on, Robin, Tracy, Lisa, Debbie. Hello, hello. If you can see me and hear me loud and clear, drop an emoji in the comments. If you're watching this on a replay, hit replay or write replay. We're going to talk about 7 things to consider when buying CBD oil. And I take a very high quality brand and I take it while I'm 9 months pregnant. So I just feel like I needed to show you guys my big bump. I'm still pregnant, still going strong, almost 37 weeks. So let's get into this. Hope you guys are having a great morning so far. All right, so the first thing we need to consider when shopping for a CBD oil, because maybe you've heard your friends talk about it, your, I don't know, family members are talking about it, the news is talking about it, Carl's Jr. is talking about it, CVS is talking about it, Walgreens, the vitamin shop wants to carry it, Urban Outfitters wants to carry CBD. It's going mainstream very, very quickly. And those of us at HempWorks knew that it would go mainstream because we saw the potential, I think, early on. So what are we going to look at when we're buying CBD oil? Okay, the first thing we're going to check is our labels, right? And this has been said a lot on the internet, especially social media. You guys can see a lot of comparison charts that are floating around. Some of them aren't that accurate. Do your own research. A lot of these comparison charts are made from just competitors in the industry that want to highlight that their product's better than the rest. That's fine. Don't go off of comparison charts. Go off of labels. Go after real documentation, not just somebody's spreadsheet and they think they have all the information on there. Not necessarily true. So check labels. What are we looking for in labels? I wish I had a whole bunch of brands here I could show you guys, but I might get in trouble for that. So I will just verbally talk about it. When you're looking at labels, it's important to look at the ingredients, okay? So many of us are now in our grocery stores, we're checking labels, where many of us are going more organic. We're trying to clean up our diet. We're trying to get beyond the chemicals and additives and all the junk that's in our food. Well, same thing applies for CBD oil. And there's not a lot of regulation for CBD right now. So it's kind of the wild, wild west out there right now. People are just, oh my gosh, let's hop on this, new craze of CBD and just try and get whatever CBD, wherever it comes from, who cares? Like, let's just get it out there to the market and capitalize on this trend. That is happening right now. And that's a scary thing because there's not a lot of regulation. So when you're looking at labels, you want to check to see if there are additives. You want to see what kind of chemicals are in there that may be mixed in there. If there's a bunch of stuff in there you can't pronounce, I recommend that you look up those ingredients individually, okay? Some of them got propylene, glycol. Some of them have some other crazy stuff that is unnecessary in your CBD. So check all the ingredients, okay? If there's 13 to 18 ingredients on there, check each and every one and see if it's something that you need to have in your CBD, because a lot of times you don't need all those ingredients in there to have a high quality CBD. And also, you want to make sure there's no side effects with these ingredients. Sometimes, we get so caught up in, oh my God, it's CBD, it must be amazing for me. But if you look at the ingredients on there, some of these ingredients have side effects, which are negative side effects. They can cause dizziness, they can cause heart palpitations, increase blood pressure, okay? Some things like this are happening to people that are taking a low quality CBD. So just because it's cheaper, okay, I recommend you don't shop based on price when it comes to CBD, because it's something that's so powerful for your body. You want to make sure you're getting a good good quality product. So of course, HempWorks is pretty appropriately priced, even for the dispensary and retail market. We're very competitive even there. So I'm not here to just pitch, obviously, HempWorks, but it is a brand that I can stand behind because I know everything about it. So I'm just going to say it like that. All right. So what other things are we looking for? Check lab reports. Okay. If your CBD oil is not coming with third-party labs, and I don't mean labs from the company, I mean third-party labs. They're not associated with the company that made the CBD oil in any way, shape, or form. Third party. There's a level of separation that clears out the biased results that may happen. Sometimes this happens in the science community where, you know, I'm just keeping it real, drug companies pay for science, they pay for testing so that they can get the results they want, okay? If you go to third-party labs that are not funded necessarily by these companies, you can maybe get more accurate results. Plus, on these lab results, losing my words there, the ingredients should be also detected in those labs as well. So if your bottle says there's 27 ingredients and then you check the labs and there's only 2, or maybe there's 37 ingredients, I mean, that's something you want to compare. Compare the label, compare the labs as well. Okay, check the certificate of analysis. Certificate of analysis is going to tell you basically a quick synopsis of if there's pesticides or toxicity or mold or whatever is going on in that, kind of like how the plant was grown, okay? So you want to check COAs. You want to check toxicity reports for mold. So a big problem in hemp and marijuana is mold. It's a big problem. A lot of products are coming back, getting tested positive for mold. And if you've ever been to a holistic doctor or chiropractor and they've done testing on you, a lot of us are having mold in our system and we don't know how or why. Some of us live in like Las Vegas, like where I live, and there's no mold here. It's dry weather here. If you live in Maryland or back east, there's mold all over the place, right? So this is a thing that can cause a lot of health issues for people. So you want to make sure your CBD does not have mold in it. And a lot of that has to do with how they're harvesting the plant and what are they doing after they harvest it. So I know personally for HempWorks, we use a fresh lock drying system, which means within 4 minutes of harvest, we're quickly vacuum sealing that product so that it's preserved, so that mold cannot grow and other toxins cannot grow on that plant. So you want to check for mold toxicity reports. Okay, the next thing you want to check for is gas chromatography testing. This is actually really important when it comes to CBD oil, and a lot of companies aren't using this. HempWorks is using this kind of testing, and basically this enables the potency testing. It tells you how strong the oil is going to be, or it's going to tell you the CBD profile compared to the other cannabinoids. It's also going to tell you what terpenes are listed or are relevant in that product. It's going to also tell you, let's see, pesticide screening is involved in the gas chromatography, residual solvents and anything left behind from the extraction is going to tell you that on the gas chromatography. And then obviously the comparative analysis from CBD to CBG, CBC, CBN, THC, that whole profile breakdown is going to be indicated on the gas chromatography testing. So that is an important test. If your CBD you're using doesn't have those tests, then you can either send them off to a third-party lab yourself and get them tested, or find a company that's already doing this testing and try their brand instead. Because there's a big difference when it comes to quality and CBD, okay? So that's number one. Check our labels, our ingredients, and our testing, okay? Number two, I'm out of breath, you guys. My lungs are smashed in here. So, my goodness, I cannot wait till this baby comes out. All right, number two is extraction method. We're going to talk about extraction method, and I'm going to go a little bit more in depth than what you guys have probably previously seen me talk about, because I think it's important. Extraction method is important. There are many different ways to extract. Some people are using ethanol or other harsh solvents. They're using fossil fuel technology to extract these plants. Some are using CO2. And even with the CO2 extraction method, there's even different kinds of CO2 extraction method. There's supercritical, there's subcritical, and I'm going to tell you guys about a little bit about what the difference is. So HempWorks uses CO2 extraction. I believe that it is a safer, it's a safer, greener, and cleaner way to extract your oils out of these plants. Okay, so it's a carbon dioxide based extraction. It's more environmentally friendly. It's less toxic than a fossil fuel based extraction, which would be using chemicals, basically ethanol and that kind of thing. And the result is you're going to get a more consistent product that tastes better. So if you guys have tried a lot of different CBD oils, if you've ever went to the dispensary and bought something from the shelf, if you're buying it off of the CVS shelf or whatever you're trying out there, if it tastes like garbage, okay, taste matters, okay? Taste is going to indicate probably how it's extracted, because whatever's left behind in the extraction is going to end up in the oil. You're going to taste it, okay? So if you're using a high quality CO2, subcritical or supercritical, and there's benefits, pros and cons to both forms, it's going to show up in the taste. So HempWorks, I know for sure, tastes amazing. Tastes really, really good because we use a low temperature extraction. A CO2 subcritical extraction method is what we use at HempWorks. So here's the difference. Subcritical is going to, and this actually goes for both sub and super, but it enables targeting maximum outputs of CBD or cannabidiol, okay? It's going to maximize the output of that extraction. You're going to get more out of the plant by using a CO2 product versus just using a chemical solvent, okay? And it also keeps out undesirable compounds like, but not limited to, chlorophyll. Chlorophyll can be a residual leftover effect of extraction if you're using an ethanol base or a chemical based extraction method, okay? But subcritical and supercritical CO2 carbon dioxide based is going to keep out a lot of the residues that are kind of left behind with alternative extraction methods. Here's the downside. CO2 extraction method is expensive, which is why not everybody does it. You need a really high quality equipment setup to get the best results. We have invested in that. HempWorks invested in the farms that use these expensive machines for this extraction method because we believe that quality is #1 important above all else. Now, supercritical versus subcritical, there's a difference in temperature. So supercritical is going to be a higher temperature. There's pros and cons to this. The pros is it can kill off some residue that may be left behind, maybe mold or whatever. We don't have that because we're already vacuum sealing it, so we don't have to worry about that. But maybe other companies, if they're using supercritical, they're going to burn off some of that because it's at a higher temperature. Subcritical means lower temperature. It's a slower process, and it actually preserves the cannabinoids better at a lower temperature. So it actually comes out kind of like a molasses, kind of like paste initially before it gets mixed in with the hemp seed oil or whatever carrier oils are being used. But the good thing about subcritical is nothing is getting destroyed in that extraction process. So you're not burning off the CBD that you need in the plant by using a higher temperature. It's staying at a low temperature. And it also remains in a liquid state throughout the extraction. So if you're using a higher temperature extraction, it may be turning into a gas and then back to a liquid again, just because of the way the process is working with the higher temperatures. Lower temperature remains in liquid state, kind of like it's not getting microwaved, basically. It's just staying the way that it should be and intended. So that's how we use it. HempWorks uses subcritical CO2. Nothing wrong with either one, but that's the difference. Okay, that's #2. So I know that was lengthy, but now let's move on to #3. #3 is check reviews. Check reviews. So don't take it from me. Don't take it from necessarily the media, okay? Because now that we've been in several magazines and we've had, you know, these news channels reach out to us, now I'm understanding how the media works a little bit more. So when I see reviews, I'm always checking the source of the review. check the sources of your reviews, okay? Because if it's just something that you've seen in an article, doesn't necessarily mean that it's accurate information. Just because you saw it in a magazine doesn't necessarily mean that it's accurate information. Check reviews and check the source of the review, okay? Because a lot of times, if you see something in the media, it's often because it was paid to be there, all right? So word of mouth, I feel, is the best way to get an accurate, honest review. Find somebody that has already had the experience. Word of mouth is the most powerful way of checking reviews, okay? For me personally, when I first started taking CBD, okay, I didn't take HempWorks in the very beginning because it didn't exist yet. And my results were like not that great. And initially I thought that maybe CBD just doesn't work. I don't know. I wasn't sure. So when I had my experience with HempWorks products before they were named HempWorks, obviously, that's when I decided I need to go tell the entire world about this because it was that good. So I believe word of mouth is the best way to get an accurate, honest review. But if you can't do that, then check reviews and see what people are saying. Some people are having good results. Some people are having bad results. So just, check either way. Water break. Okay, so that's number 3. Also, part of number 3. Check the refund policy, okay? So sometimes there's a lot of information about CBD on the internet right now, all right? A lot. But you want to make sure that you're not getting sucked into like a free trial offer where they automatically bill you for like forever and ever and ever, and there's no customer service phone number to cancel it. And, there's a lot of scammy stuff out there when it comes to CBD. So not only just check reviews, check the company out as well. The company behind that product is important as well. That should be on the label as well. They should have their address on there. And if you pull up their address, you should be able to find their phone number or their website. You should find this information. If you're buying a CBD oil that has no information on the company itself, then you don't really know what you're buying, okay? And you're going to have a hard time when you try that product, and if you want to return it because maybe it didn't work for you, that's going to be a problem for you to track down that company information if it's not listed on the bottle or on their website or however you're finding this information out. So check the return policy. HempWorks has 60-day money-back empty bottle guarantee. Why do we do that? We put our address straight on the bottle. We have our contact information all on our website. You can go to hempworks.com, go to contact. You go to mydailychoice.com, go to contact. You'll see all of our return information. You'll see a return policy. You'll see customer service phone numbers, emails. There's a company behind the oil, right? That's a big deal because a lot of companies that are trying to capitalize on this industry, they're leaving their information off to just try to grab sales and not service the customer. So that is an important aspect of buying your CBD because for a product like this, that's can be so, important to your life, you want to make sure you're buying with a company that's going to support you. If something goes wrong with the oil or if something goes wrong with your experience, you want to make sure you're getting it from a good place, okay? All right, that's number 3. Number 4 is serving size. So this is sometimes listed on the bottle itself. It may say there's like 50 servings or 100 servings, and it's also going to tell you the milligram count, okay? So some of them are going to say 500 milligrams, 750, we've seen 1,000, 2,500 milligrams. What does all this mean? All right, well, because there's not a lot of regulation, and I'm just keeping it real, some bottles will say there's 2,500 milligrams of CBD in there. And then when you look at the testing, you'll see that there's maybe only 50 milligrams in that bottle and that they're just using 2,500 to sell more bottles and to tell people that it's actually higher in potency than it really is. So that goes back to checking the labs and the COAs and the gas chromatography. That's going to tell you what's actually in that bottle, right? But you want to check the serving size. And the reason why, now, because it's a dietary supplement, there's not a lot you can say that it's not a one-size-fits-all product, right? It's not. So what might work for me, I'm tripping up on my words today, what might work for me doesn't work for you maybe, right? Or what works for you might not work for me. I might need to take 2 full droppers twice a day because my body has been so used to cannabis that I have a higher tolerance to it. So I may need a little bit more. That's completely possible. If you're brand new and you've never taken CBD before, you probably just need a couple drops in order to kind of see some results. So that therapeutic range is going to be different for every single person, right? So for you, you want to try it out for yourself. Each individual is going to be different. Everybody metabolizes this oil differently. And a lot of it is based on how it's metabolized in the fat cells of your body. Doesn't mean if you're like a bigger person, you're going to metabolize quicker. It doesn't mean that at all. But it does mean you have to play around with the serving size to see what works for you. Now, I can tell you that the standard as of right now is between, for a natural oil, natural, straight from hemp, from the ground, not made in a lab, you're going to try and aim for 15 to 30 milligrams a day, or 10 to 20 to 30, somewhere in that range, okay? Now, for HempWorks, if you're buying the 500 milligrams, that's 20 milligrams a day because you're taking it twice a day, and it's 10 milligrams per serving. If you're taking the 750, that's 15 milligrams twice a day, that's 30 milligrams a day. So between the two oils that we have, you're right in that range where you're gonna see some results, okay? Now, some companies, like I said, they have a higher milligram count, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's what's in the bottle. It means they're advertising it. You can also tell based on price. If you're buying a 2,500 milligram bottle and it's only $25, okay. CBD is very expensive. Let's just put it this way. A lot of companies are having a hard time entering the market because they can't buy the big mass orders that it takes, the bulk oil orders that it takes to even get into the market. So they're buying their oil, then they're diluting it, and then bottling it, and then trying to sell it to people. So check on that serving size. If you're taking a synthetic CBD, maybe you're taking it through a pharmaceutical company, okay? This is available as well. I'm not gonna bash it, but I'm gonna say that the serving size is gonna be much higher for a synthetic CBD or something that's created in a lab. So you're looking at 50 milligrams or above. If you go to Mayo Clinic and look for CBD serving sizes, they are talking about mostly pharmaceuticals here, it's going to be a higher amount. So if you're looking for a specific ailment or disease and you're looking on the pharmaceutical side, they may say something crazy like 2,500 milligrams or whatever per day, right? It may say something like that, but you have to know the difference between when you're sourcing a natural CBD oil versus a synthetic or drug-made CBD oil. Those serving sizes are different. They don't do the same thing. So be aware of that when you're researching how much to take and what you're taking it for and that kind of thing. I obviously recommend taking a natural CBD that's been unadulterated by any chemical processes and additives because I know that's what works for me. But do your own research on that and make the decision that's best for you, and maybe ask your doctor for his recommendation or her recommendation. All right, so that's number 4. Number 4 is serving size. Number 5 is, this one's kind of funny. Research the marketing hype. Research the marketing hype. So now that there's so much momentum in CBD, there's a lot of things being said about CBD and a lot of marketing terminology that's thrown around that is literally just confusing people. So before you jump on the bandwagon of my CBD is liposomal or technology or nanotechnology or water-based technology or bioavailability technology, whatever marketing thing that you are hearing that's running around all over the internet, whatever in your company or not, just research all of that yourself, okay? If you're curious about the importance of bioavailability and CBD, just research it and see what you find, okay? Don't just take marketing hype as truth. Just because it's being said doesn't mean it's necessarily true or beneficial. And a lot of times, some of this marketing jargon that's being thrown around is actually not good for us, okay? There's actually studies that show the opposite for some of these terminologies that is only been proven in a pharmaceutical setting or in a drug setting. And we're trying now to use this in CBD oil, and it doesn't necessarily translate the same. So research all the hype out there. Check the sources of all the hype. If someone's trying to say, oh, mine's better because it dissolves in water, then research that. Because I can tell you that these products that are out there, I've personally sent them to labs and tested them. And what we found is the CBD waters usually have no CBD in them. Like undetectable amounts of CBD, which means you're drinking water, okay? So as long as you're okay with buying overpriced water, that's fine. But check yourself. Check the testing itself. Check the research. Check the articles. Check the science behind it and see what you're actually getting. Here's my concern, and I'm just going to leave it just briefly at this. My concern with the nanotech with CBD, I don't want to bash it because maybe someday it's going to be proven to be awesome. Maybe those science is already coming out. I don't know. But from what I've heard from our head chemists and our head formulators and all the people at the farm, I've talked to them directly, and they said to me that it's not necessarily safe. And the reason why is because while they are minimizing these molecules, the CBD molecule is a larger molecule than it is bigger. It's bigger than the water molecule, okay? That's why when if you take our hemp work CBD and dump it in water, the oil just floats, right? They don't mix at all. Oil and water don't necessarily mix. And that's because the molecule sizes are different. So the oil sits on top because it's bigger than the molecule. When you're using nanotechnology, you're shrinking that molecule so that it's tinier, so that it can blend into the water, right? But the problem is they aren't able to tell you how small they're making it. And if they're making it smaller than your blood molecule, then that can create an issue when you're absorbing that into your body. When you're taking a nanotechnology CBD that's smaller than the blood in your body, it can either do one of two things. It can either get trapped and create kind of like a graveyard of CBD in your body where it's not going in and out of the body like in a natural process, or it can exit just as fast depending on the size. So as soon as you take it, you may feel like, oh my God, it works. But then an hour or two later, it's completely gone. And now your symptoms return because it's already left your body. It's not staying in. It's not adapted. It's not being, it's not adapting to your entire body. So for me personally, I want to just stick to what's natural, how it already comes straight from the extraction of the plant. I don't need to mix it in water and all this other stuff. I'm not interested in that right now. If the science comes forward and says this is really great for us and it's amazing new technology and this is the only way, we should take CBD, then I may change my attitude on that. But for right now, that is not being said in the higher scientific communities regarding hemp and CBD. So for now, I'm going to avoid that. So if you're looking at, company to company and you're like, oh, they have this patented technology. Let me just remind you that you don't need patents when you're working with nature, okay? You don't patent plants, all right? Patented technology typically relates to something that's being done in the lab, something that can be patented based on a chemical process. So just keep that in mind as you are shopping for what CBD oil you want to take, okay? So that's 5. Research the marketing hype. Number 6, there's a difference in oils, all right? Full spectrum, isolate, and new technology coming out now, broad spectrum. I don't know a ton about broad spectrum yet, but it may be something that we have available in the future if it's proven to be effective and beneficial. But for now, the two main differences for CBD is a full spectrum versus an isolate. So what do I mean by that? A full spectrum oil is going to be the whole plant, right? You're going to use the whole plant. So you're going to use all the entire cannabinoid profile of that whole plant, which is exactly the way nature designed it to be, right? So you're not getting just the CBD, you got CBG, CBC, CBN, or the full profile plus THC. They're all together. They work together. When the compounds come together, creates an entourage effect. Mix that in with the terpenes of the plant, and you're getting something that's going to be very beneficial to your body. It's going to target the CB2 receptors in your body. Marijuana or higher THC content oil is going to target the CB1 receptors in your body. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up your ECS. Look up your endocannabinoid system. This is the main electrical system of your body that nobody talks about, but is there and was discovered from researchers in Israel a long time ago. So, and I think that was in 2004. So check into that so that you can see what's going to work best for you. Now, an isolate product. So some people don't want to take THC. Maybe they have some reserves, or they think, oh my God, I'm going to get high. You're not going to get high on a full spectrum product, I promise. It's less than 0.03%. It's federally legal. You can ship that across state lines, even with the THC. But some of us are still like anti-THC, or maybe you have a job that you're worried that is going to show up positive on a drug test, okay? That's why you want to take a CBD only product that has 0.00% THC. Now, the difference is you're excluding the rest of the cannabinoid profile. So you're only getting CBD. That's it. Now, CBD is one of the most powerful compounds in this plant, in the hemp plant. So it's still going to be great. And some CBD is better than no CBD. But the serving size may have to change a little bit because the therapeutic range is much wider for a full spectrum product, where you can take a few drops, maybe you can take 2 full droppers. You're going to see some good results. With a CBD only product that's THC free, which HempWorks does offer one, you may have to take more. You may have to take a certain amount every day. You're going to have to see what works for you, but because of the therapeutic range being lower, it's going to take a little bit more trial error on your part. Maybe you want to keep notes on how you're doing on the product so that you can really see what's happening with you. So that's the difference there. A broad spectrum oil basically means that it's kind of the reverse of the CBD only isolate. Basically, it's a full spectrum minus the THC. So they've figured out how to extract only the THC out and left all the other cannabinoids in the actual product. So that's what broad spectrum means. HempWorks does not offer that at this time, but it's something that we're looking into maybe in the future. And you know, as we develop the research and the science behind that, and we've proved that it's actually high quality and effective, then that may be something that we offer in the future. So that would be basically, it's like a full spectrum, but it does not have the THC in it. So it's kind of the best of both worlds a little bit. So I'm definitely curious to see how that goes. And I've been experimenting with that myself. So more on that later. So those are the 3 basically different kinds of oils out there that you can get. And that was number 6. Okay, number 7, and this is my last point today. Well, the hemp quality seal. Okay, now this is not like a requirement for buying CBD, but it's a good place to start. So the reason why I'm mentioning this is because this is basically a seal backed by the U.S. Hemp Roundtable, which is a coalition of lawyers and people that are fighting for hemp legislation. They've partnered with the Hemp Authority, okay? The Hemp Authority has launched this seal program, which basically proves through a rigorous auditing process that the products that they give the seal to are safe and accurate on their labels. So like I said, CBD oil industry right now is the wild, wild west. People are just launching it, putting whatever they want on the labels, making whatever claims they want about the products. There's no regulation at all. It's not always going to be like that. Eventually, there's going to be heavy regulation around CBD. It's just bound to happen. Eventually, the FDA is going to catch up and say, all right, you can have CBD. However, you have to tell the truth on your labels, right? So what the Hemp Authority has done is kind of taken that initiative upon themselves to self-regulate before the FDA gets their, regulation processes in place, because this could take 2 or 3 years down the road for them to kind of start regulating all this stuff. But the Hemp Authority has decided to self-regulate based on quality standard measures. So March 1st was the first time that the Hemp Authority has issued these seals to certain companies. Now, only 13 of them were given this round. There's going to probably be more in the future, but it's based on a rigorous auditing process based on quality. They're basically just verifying what's on your label is also in the bottle. So look for the Hemp Authority seal. Okay, we're going to be changing our labels soon so that it has this seal on it. HempWorks has this seal. So does our farm. The farms we work with, Gencana in Kentucky grown farms, they have this seal as well because of their quality measures that they've taken. And that's where we're buying this oil from. So now you guys know to check for the seal when you're buying this, you know, your CBD oil product out there. If it doesn't have the seal, then it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. It just means that you have to do a little more due diligence before you buy it. So that's my last point that I'm going to make. And I appreciate you guys hopping on and sticking with me for this whole video. Hopefully this helps you understand what to look for when you're buying a CBD oil, because there's a lot out there. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of marketing. A lot of companies are coming out saying, hey, we want to get on the CBD oil trend. So how to filter out the noise? Look at these 7 things before you purchase and see if it's something that you want to buy for yourself or not. Thank you guys for hopping on, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye, guys.